We're talking about book bans. The contentious topic is once again up for debate in Salem. And this time, let's just say there are some theatrics involved. It's our big story tonight. Well, it certainly was an interesting day on the House floor in Salem yesterday morning when Republican Representative Dwayne Juncker did this.
From page 265, she guided me on my back and pulled on the bottom of my briefs. I pushed them over my knees and feet and was completely naked.
Well, there is more to that sentence, but you get the picture. Representative Juncker claims he was reading a passage from a book in a school library in Grants Pass. It was sent to him by a concerned parent, he says, who wants the book removed. The book is called The Haters, and Representative Juncker says the Three Rivers School District in Grants Pass decided to keep it in the library. While Representative Juncker was reading that on the floor of Oregon's House chamber, his fellow Republican Representative Kevin Mannix then did this.
I think the representative's presentation is lascivious and obscene, and I object to it.
Juncker was allowed to continue reading until Mannix objected a second time, and then he stopped. It was a little bit of a performance, if you will, with Juncker arguing that if the text was not appropriate to read aloud on the House floor, it should not be allowed in schools. Now, this is a tactic we've seen play out in other public meetings, especially school boards, by people who want to ban books. After all, if the language is too inappropriate for a meeting, how could it be suitable for children?
What is on the shelves in our schools today does not meet the standards for this chamber. Our families, our students deserve to serve and to go to school and have libraries that are appropriate to their age.
Republicans are trying to stop the passage of Senate Bill 1098. It would ban what the Democratic sponsors call discriminatory book bans. Data shows that the majority of books banned from schools and libraries are either by or about people of color or the LGBTQ+ community. And the bill would institute certain requirements that have to be met before a book can be removed. Now, if this all sounds familiar to you, it's because a similar bill was introduced last session but never made it over the finish line. The sponsor last year and this year is Senator Lou Frederick, a Democrat who represents North and Northeast Portland.
We were only an hour and a half from getting it through the last time, and that was just because of timing. But it was also what I'm trying to do here is to basically free up the libraries and the schools to deal with more important issues, quite frankly, rather than having to spend their time fighting over a culture war kind of thing. Instead, to say, no, these are things that we don't need to deal with. You have parameters. You cannot discriminate. If you are a book that's dealing with that cannot discriminate. But it doesn't say that you can't determine whether a particular book can be in an area or is for a certain age group.
But Republicans say they don't want kids exposed to things they think are inappropriate in schools, and they want school districts to be able to decide the rules themselves, not the state.
A lot of stuff gets hidden under all sorts of political discussions. We've got, I think I mentioned I got Toni Morrison's book. It was mentioned twice in committee as one that would possibly be banned. And as a Nobel Prize winning author, also as a Pulitzer Prize, she's a black woman. The very definition of a book that they would say, if you're trying to take this out, it might be racial. And yet, in the first, 20 pages, you find things that you don't really want to read. You don't want children to read. I can't read them here.
The bill passed out of committee yesterday, and it has hundreds of people who testified in support. One of them is a librarian in a district on the Oregon coast dealing with a book ban issue of her own right now. Last week, the Sayusla School District in Florence banned the book Flamer by Mike Corrado. The book is about a Filipino boy who goes to Boy Scout camp and deals with things like bullying, suicidal thoughts, religion, and his sexual orientation. It's a book we've seen challenged in several school districts in Oregon in the past few years. In the Sayusla district, a student challenged the book, which was only in the high school library. The book was looked at by a review committee, who, along with the school's principal, recommended the book stay in the library. But the school board decided to ban it anyway. Jennifer McKenzie, the district's teacher librarian, says that was a disappointing decision, especially for her district.
So the panel determined that, the book really represented voices that we seek to see in our collection. And then also the panel recognized the importance of the book in serving as a suicide prevention story, because we're out here in Lane County, and Lane County has some of the highest suicide rates in the entire state of Oregon. So we're in this hot pocket, sadly, of suicide, and we've had students in our school system since I've been here in the last 5 years who have committed suicide. So, so that played into the panel's decision as well, that this book could serve students who are potentially considering suicide. And one comment from our district mental health provider, she said that, books are often, when she has to see students who are experiencing suicidal ideation, that books are their number one go-to mechanism for coping.
Now, we talked with a member of the review panel tasked with reading the book and making a recommendation to the school board about whether it should stay. Ned Hickson is a local author and retired journalist in the city of Florence. He says the panel, which included a parent, a pastor, a Boy Scout leader, and others from the community, was on the fence about keeping the book initially. But after a 4-hour discussion, they decided that it should stay.
So when we really got down to it, we realized this book is not just about a student who's questioning their sexuality. It also covers racism. It covers body shaming. It covers dysfunctional family life. There are a lot of kids who are not questioning their sexuality who could relate to many of the other aspects that this character is facing in their life, including a crisis of faith. And we felt ultimately that this book was more than just about one particular thing, and that the main reason the book was written was to help a teen considering suicide, to help persuade them against that. And my question at our meeting was, if you knew this book could save your child's life, would you still consider objecting to keeping it on the shelf for the good of the community? Would you still take it off? And so once we kind of started looking at it that way, we realized that this book is important to have on the shelf.
But last week, as we said, the school board decided to remove it anyway. Some board members said they like the book's message, just not its language.
I don't believe it belongs in the collection. I believe that we need to have a higher standard for the language and the content that is in the book.
I believe the sexual content and the language being used in the book is unacceptable. There's over 20 words in there that, yes, some kids probably speak those words, but we as adults should not condone it.
But the decision was not unanimous. The board vice chair spoke against banning the book, especially in light of the fact that the school's principal and the review committee approved it.
To close the doors and be someone up here that says this is okay for us to go over our professional people, to go over our teachers, to go over our admin, to go over a committee that was chosen from very professional people in our community and make a decision because we're what? Elected officials, because we're what? Make a decision that takes a book off the shelf that could help somebody or save someone's life. I can't even express how angry that makes me that we would even think about making that kind of a decision.
But in the end, the school board voted 4-3 to remove the book. So as of now, it's off the shelf in the Sayusla district. But we want to know what you think. Should the state be setting standards for book bans, or should it be left up to individual districts? It's certainly a point of controversy across the state. So email us at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Or, as always, you can hit us up on social media. We love to hear from you.